Good afternoon, and welcome to EPFL, École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, ETH Lausanne. A few months ago, I was to the Coursera conference in Philadelphia. There were many Europeans, but the main center of gravity was not Europe. And Carl was before at the edX conference in Boston, and the same thing occurred. There were some Europeans, but the main focus was USA, so we thought it might be a good idea to meet here and to discuss with each other. To start with, I asked our Vice President, Karl Aberer, who is in charge of the IT and the MOOCs on campus, to tell you a little bit where you are at EPFL. Usually, we have a president or a minister who comes and is invited to talk about things he doesn't know. It's not the case of Karl, who is an expert in the field. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre, and I also would like to welcome everyone to this event. I wanted just to say a few words about the place where you are and also what has been EPFL's kind of initial engagement in this space of MOOCs. So this is an invention of Pierre, actually. So that is the new acronym, explanation of the acronym of EPFL. EPFL has been very fast moving in this MOOC space, and I think this is pretty much has to do also with the way of how EPFL has developed over the past 30 years or so. It has been a very fast developing university, and I have this very nice illustration that gives you the idea. So this was EPFL in 1969, so that's 44 years ago, right? And this is EPFL today. So it's something that has grown very fast. It's a very dynamic place, and this explains also why we are moving in this MOOC space. In particular, also, we have been growing very fast in, for example, student numbers. So we are now slowly reaching 10,000 students. We have been here, so it's just a percentage. So you see, we have way more than doubled over the last 34 years. And we will reach basically campus capacity now in the next few years. So you might have noticed that there are really many people on campus despite the fact that there is a semester break. EPFL has also been very successful in research, and from a European perspective, one of the ways to measure this is, of course, how much money can you get from the European Union, and there are two major resources, the basic research in ERCs and in FP7 applied research, and you see here is a cluster of some major European universities, and I think we are in good company here. So we are also very happy about this. It shows that the strategy of EPFL to really invest a lot into basic research has really paid off in the sense that we have a high level of ERC grants without harming basically our applied research capacity. In the context of MOOCs, another factor is quite interesting, and that is the international positioning. So EPFL is becoming a highly networked and highly international place. So we have here our main campus. We're also regionally, we have now satellites being built up in the neighboring regions, but we're also going international. So for example, we have a campus in the Middle East. We have cooperations with regions like Russia, India, and Africa is, in the context of MOOCs, now one of the directions we're expanding our activities. So basically we have kind of a global network, a regional network, and of course, in between there is the European networking, and this event should serve also to develop this. Now, we have been adopting the MOOCs quite early. So you have been joining the Coursera platform last year in June, have been delivering the first course in September. Now you might wonder how fast can you convince one of your colleagues to, between June and September, to produce a MOOCs. We were very lucky. We had one colleague who was immediately agreeing. That was a course on programming and in the language called Scala, and it's not a coincidence. The inventor of the language is the teacher. So, and we thought that is a very good starting point, because one of the important aspects of MOOCs is really that they create a lot of visibility. And what better can you do that you give the inventor of something the opportunity to present this to the potential future users of his invention. So, and it was a highly successful course, which attracted immediately 50,000 initially registered students. So you understand what I want to say. But in the meantime, so there, but the success was basically pre-planned. In the meantime, we have completed 4 more courses. And what's very nice to see, you don't necessarily always have to a really exceptional thing, right, that you can probably reproduce only a couple of times, but you can also with more standard type of education attract huge numbers. So also the other courses attracted in the range of 30,000 or so students. There's one course, actually from a European perspective, also very interesting, that is this very tiny slice here. That was the first course that was offered in French. Now this is of course not a surprise. French is not used by as many people as English. So we had, but still this small slice is 2,000 or so people. So it's not such a small slice either. And we're now happily producing more. So we have 17 more MOOCs at the moment in preparation. If I mean, from a more managerial perspective, I like to see now piling up 17 of these things. So we will reach millions of students, and I think that shows what is the potential of this new development. In order to make all of this work, we have also started the Center for Digital Education, which is located in the Rolex Learning Center. We really needed to do that in order to kind of build up the capacity to develop MOOCs, because it's kind of an enterprise. You need specific competencies, you need a certain know-how, and you need also resources to do it. And with a growing number of courses, this becomes an important problem. I can tell you a bit about what was the outcome of the first courses. I mean, these were all numbers that we were all very eager to see after the courses have delivered. So this was from the Scala course that was given by Odersky. So the obvious question we asked afterwards the student, what do you prefer, MOOCs or conventional teaching? And you have to know the course has been given in 2 parts. The first part as a MOOCs, and the second part as a conventional course. And you have also to know that Martin Odersky has received the Best Teaching Award. So his in-class teaching cannot be so bad, right? Nevertheless, the outcome was that the students largely preferred to have had the whole course as a MOOCs. And there are many explanations. Probably one of the important one is that it is kind of more flexible. Probably also the high quality of the materials produced in the MOOCs are another reason why students like this a lot. The other interesting observation was, not so surprising, but interesting, that actually many of the students have been already had a degree. So it's kind of, the course was really half of a continued education course. Now, since Scala is a language that is used now a lot in Web 2.0 companies like Twitter or LinkedIn, it's clear. I mean, there is a lot of interest for, in particular, also for people already in professional life. It's not so surprising, but I think it's still a quite interesting indication of where this whole MOOCs business is going. Now, regarding Europe, we also were, of course, curious to know what was the regional distribution of the participants. So, of course, United States is ahead, but the United States is also relatively big as a whole. And I also learned that probably many of the Chinese students are in this because they're going through US proxies. Very interesting thought. Then there was Russia. But then many European, all the green are European countries. So European students have really adopted already this development. And this I can also confirm from personal experience. My PhD students, of course, told me about MOOCs already. I told them, oh, did you hear about MOOCs? Yeah, of course, we have already taken one. So they're very fast to move into this. Now, I'm not here just to announce kind of how good MOOCs are, right? So that is good. In the first couple of weeks, you're excited and things go well, so you're extremely happy. But it's also like, you know, you see that there are some questions that you need to address. And so we have observed a few points that kind of need careful attention. So the first one is that we observe a lot of plagiarism, like 20% of exercise is obviously being copied and things like that. So this is definitely something to take care of, in particular if we are thinking about any form of accreditation of this, then this shows that there is a real issue. Some students, not so much the ones who have taken the course, but some students that know that they will have the pleasure to take such a MOOCs the next semester feared that they might lose the contact with the teacher. And I think the fear is really justified. I mean, I understand that taking one MOOCs might be fun, right? If you have 6 courses next to it. But if you have 6 MOOCs and only 1 course with a professor, then you might fear that you're just sitting in front of a screen all the day. That's something that's very interesting, very important to take care of. Flipped classes, I mean, of course, in the first sales pitch, the message was you give the student the MOOCs, you make a flipped class, and everyone is happy and everything is wonderful. So it didn't work out like that, and probably Pierre can say a few words about his experiments he did then to deal with that situation. And then there's also an interesting phenomenon. I mean, the MOOCs are taken both internally and externally, and this poses a lot of questions. First of all, you have a different way of how the students access. You need to identify them separately. You have the ones that receive grades and the others not, and so on. So doing that is technically an issue. And then that's also very important. So after we had made our first session with Martin to inform all our other faculty about how fun it is to do MOOCs, and Martin arrived very tired with ring under the eyes, somehow some got suspicious that it might be a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. And I think this is a real question, and I think it's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. It shows that it can pay off if you really have the time and the energy to invest in high quality education. But you cannot do that repetitively. But that's the nice thing about MOOCs. You invest once, and you can benefit then often. And I think this will change how the game of education a lot. And then another point that came up is really the question of the data. So we have to be very clear that the platforms, they are kind of web companies, right? And web companies, what do they live on? Typically on personal data. And so students, they are smart guys, right? So they immediately figured out there might be an issue if their data goes somewhere to some other place, and the data is used for whatever purpose. And I think that is also an issue that we have to be very careful about. Okay, so now that is where Pierre asked me to stop, because otherwise he rightly fears that I would talk for another hour. So thank you for your attention, and I hope you have a great workshop the next 2 days.
Okay, this will be a mess. This will be a difficult workshop. First of all, we did not prepare it enough, but all the discussion on MOOCs are messy. There is a lot of blah blah. There is a lot of overstatement in the newspaper and from political people. So that's the difficulty of these 2 days. I will present the event, and it's to navigate between 2 kind of people. We have the guru and we have the technophobes, those who predict the end of the world. You know, students will never see the teachers. They will have a loss of social contact. That's the end of humanism in university. Humboldt is dead, and so on and so on. Some of these people. And then the guru. MOOCs is happiness, you know. Students will be motivated. Knowledge will be free. Now, if this was true, it would be forbidden. MOOCs would be forbidden. All teacher will be passionate, and so on. And the difficulty, and what I try to have in these 2 days, if you can, probably you have to do some of this discourse yourself in your job, okay? If you can leave them outside for 2 days and talk about data, about result, about what we do concretely, and stop this inflation of overstatement. Actually, there is a third category that is specific to MOOCs, the veterans, okay? I'm one of them, as Carl mentioned. I started there, and veterans, some of them are in the rooms. I give no names. Are people who have done learning technologies for many years, and they are very critical. Okay, they say MOOCs, nothing new. I have done that for 10 years, and so this learning technology expert, as we discuss, these learning technology experts sometimes are the most critical against MOOCs because, in some way, you know, they were not on board. They were doing something else, and somebody has beaten them. But who are the worst? That's a good question for you. Who is the most terrible obstacle for quality of the discussion? The guru, the technophobic, or the veterans? My answer, the guru. Because they predict so wonderful things that we can only fail. Okay? If you read all these newspaper articles, they say, so wonderful things, and that has been the case for many years in learning technology, that people predict. And so the most dangerous things for us today is overstatement, okay? Let's focus on what we do, be concrete on what we do, what can be done concretely together. Another question, different question. How much time does it take if you record 2 hours lecture, okay? You divide it, it becomes 7 times 12 minutes, okay? How much does it take to our students to watch these 2 hours lecture? So this 7 segment of 12 minutes. Who believe 1.5? Everybody has to give an answer, huh? Who believe 1.5? Who believe 3? Who believe 5? Okay, good. Now, the answer is, you will see that I became a bit Swiss. Yeah, we had 3 MOOCs running the last months. One of them was a first-year introductory course, well adapted to the level, and it took this time. And the 2 of them were much tougher, and I saw some students crying. They would say, it's not possible. It's the first video of 10 minutes. I spent 45 minutes on this one video. So why do I point this out? It's because we talk about MOOCs, but that there is not something called a MOOC, okay? It's like if you talk about teacher, we have fantastic teacher, and we have teachers who are not so fantastic. And we have fantastic MOOCs, and we have, not at EPFL, of course, but some MOOCs are not so fantastic. And we have some MOOCs that are very close to continuous education, like Scala. It's a very clearly identified professional skill versus MOOC, which are the history of the world. So this MOOC will not have the same success for So we need to talk about MOOCs, of course, but let's be careful that we talk about things which are really very different from each other. So we need overgeneralization, but let's be reasonable. So the goals of the MOOCs are to address a series of questions that we've been discussing this morning, that we've been discussing, we met many of you over the time, and that will be structured around 3 sessions. I want to give one concrete example that I have in mind as a potential outcome for these 2 days. Okay? And it's about exams. Okay? As Carl mentioned, we give no credit for MOOC. We don't believe in the current certification techniques. They are good, but they have no guarantee that the person typing there is not watching another display with all the solutions. So currently we give no credit. But it could be a solution. Here is the short story. The University of Helsinki put on its website, if you want to take the Scala course from Helsinki, go to Lausanne and take this course on Scala by the father of Scala. Good idea. They did not ask us anything. They did not ask Coursera. They did not ask, okay, it's fair. Okay, they've done it. Now, for the exam, they've done their own exam over there. They could have talked to us, and we would have sent the exam to them. And if our students follow a MOOC from University of Helsinki, they could send a question, and we could do the exam here. Here, in this room, we have a fantastic network of testing centers, okay? All the universities, all the open universities have their own testing centers. That's something it would be quite easy to mutualize instead of inventing complex way. So that's the goal. Can we find during these 2 days concrete thing? Okay, we can write white papers. Okay, there are enough white papers on MOOCs now. Can we find concrete things of what we could do together? And we will proceed in 3 steps. First, now we'll do a tour d'Europe. 13 people will have 2 slides to tell us about who is doing MOOCs in their country. Okay, and we have, as you will see, a nice collection of universities. We try to invite universities that were kind of proactive. We cannot invite all European universities, but we have a nice collection. There is only one person from Scandinavia. There is no Norwegian, Swede, and Greek, and only one person from Eastern countries. So some from Eastern Europe. So only, not all Europe is completely represented, but we have a nice sample of those who move on. I hope I forgot nobody, but the participant list was changing every day. That's the first part. We will have just a situation, just fact. Who is doing what in Europe? That's the first goal of today. Okay, who is doing what? The second goal was that we don't have only university, but we have also association. Okay, that you can read them here. And we say maybe the solution will not come at the university level, but at the association level. We have also a talk from Fred Mulder, who will describe the initiative of the European Commission on that. Here, my goal by inviting the Commission was not to have a top-down decision of, how much money will you give us and what should we do. The goal of these 2 days is more bottom-up. Let's talk to each other and find what we could do together. And finally, we have a panel with the corporate actors, not all of them, some of the corporate actors that will be today. And here is the list. I made 2 categories, those who are very specialized on learning and those who are more generalist. So they will be around. Hope that you will talk to them during these 2 days. The goal of the conference is to have, as Carl mentioned, we will have these new conference centers. It's not to do a traditional conference, okay, like an academic conference where you submit paper, you review paper, you accept paper. That will be one track. There will be 4 tracks in this conference. One track is the research track, but we will keep a business track. We will have an experience track, which is people who do MOOCs and don't do research, they do them, and they want to share the production problems, the running problem, and so on. And then a policy track, people who want to discuss about the MOOC strategy. So there will be a kind of hybrid model of a conference, a standard academic conference at the research track and more practical track.